You're listening to Boobies and Noobies, brought to you by the Frolic Podcast Network. Happy holidays, everybody, and welcome to a special holiday edition of Boobies and Noobies, the podcast that asks novice romance readers to think outside the dick in a box and brave the unbridled world of erotica. I'm your host, Kelly Reynolds, and today's romance review marks the 11th episode in Boobies and Noobies' second annual holiday special, The 12 Days of Boobsmas. We are so close to the end. Only one more to go. All December long, we're celebrating holiday baking, giving back to the kids, and one creepy as fuck alpha male with 12 holiday-themed romance novellas, 12 podcasts, and 12 giveaways. Join us December 1st through 23rd for all of the festive fun. Joining me today for the 11th day of Boobsmas is fellow Alameda High alum and class of 2007. It's Craig Park. Welcome, Craig.
Hi, Kelly. Thanks for having me.
So glad to have you.
No, I'm excited to be here.
It's always good to be back in my parents' house, recording upstairs in their office with odd acoustics and less seating room.
Hey, don't worry about it. To be honest with you, you're the first Alameda High School alum that's invited me to do something that wasn't a pyramid scheme. So
oh, good.
I'm delighted to be here.
God, and that's what the holidays are all about, you know, not having friends sign you up for pyramid schemes. That's the gift that keeps on giving. What's funny is that, you know, even though we went to high school together, I feel like we didn't really know each other in high school.
Don't think we did at all. Our friend group touched.
Yes, yeah. So the way that Craig and I kind of came to know each other was much later than high school. I mean, I had a friend that dated you when we were in high school and you were out of high school, but I didn't know you then. I think I dropped her off at your house once.
Yeah, it was a very insecure Venn diagram.
That's one way of putting it. But we reconnected, or not even reconnected, connected for the first time. I feel like a few years ago when it was Elliot's birthday, Elliot being Craig's brother. And we, you know, went out for the 21st birthday fun. That was good. Karaoke night.
Oh my goodness.
Did you forget?
I had completely forgotten about that night. I do remember some of the events that unfolded.
That means it was a good night.
Yeah, that was, well, it was eventful.
Yeah, for sure. And then, of course, you and Elliot came to the wedding that I was in earlier this year. And I feel like that weekend was just so bomb, like with everybody that came, and we all stayed at this like fancy Art Deco mansion and just like went in the pool and had drinks for like 3 days straight. That
trip was a near fear and loathing experience for me. We pull up in the desert. I'm in a wedding party I'm not supposed to be a part of, and it is just unbridled drinking for 3 days straight.
Yeah, that was the best part, was that you were I mean, I don't want this to sound shady, like we don't like Craig, but Craig was invited to this wedding like what, a week out?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Yeah, and it was great. And he was like, yes, let's get in the car, let's go. And you guys came and you made the party.
I did my best.
Yes.
I really appreciate that.
Yes. Well, and I think Megan, my roommate, and I, we have mentioned on more than one occasion that one of the best things about having Craig and Elliot both that weekend was that you guys can cook.
We pride ourselves in it. But to be honest, I was just happy to be invited. Your friend that invited me brought me as a +1 at the last minute. And I heard the backstory on why I got the invite. And let's just say I was happy to be there.
Yeah.
And that was a great weekend.
It was
so
good.
An excellent time for reconnecting.
Yes. It was super fun. It was the perfect group. I'm sure everybody's had this experience, but like weddings I feel like are like hit or miss. Like they're either super fun and like you have the best people around, lots of dancing, good drinks, good food. But then there's like other ones you go to where it's like you don't know anyone and it's just so... I don't know, especially, I've gone to weddings where I don't know anyone and still had a really good time, but like I've also gone to ones where it's like nobody really wants to get to know you. Everybody just wants to kind of keep to themselves and everything. And I feel like this one was like the wedding where it just, everybody wanted to like hug everybody all the time, and it was great.
Oh, I was 100% in my element. They gave me unlimited alcohol and unlimited kitchen access.
Yeah.
Full privileges. And then they cut me loose, and I got to meet the entire Jace family. All the Canadians and all the cousins, the aunts, the uncles. And I feel like we got along famously.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, God, I love them. So much fun. Those Canadians know how to party.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I think it's because they spend so much time being cold that they're just like, we need to keep warm somehow, whether it's like the booze or the dancing or what.
You know, one of their young cousins, he came to the bar and asked me for advice on what to get, and I recommended the Long Island iced tea, which is coincidentally Elliot's first legal drink.
Oh my God!
Yeah, I have absolutely no regard for their happiness.
That's just going like all out too, is like, not even just like, oh, I'm going to get a beer. I'm going to get a glass of wine. I'm going to get a Long Island iced tea. That's got like 8 alcohols in it.
Yeah. Fantastic decision. I personally don't drink them because I do care about myself.
Just not Elliot. You're like, you'll learn in time. It's okay. We've all been there. Oh, gosh. Well, okay. Along with, obviously, the holiday-themed romance, Boobsmas is also about discussing the holidays, our favorite traditions, memories, yummies associated with the holiday season. So I know that food plays like a big part in your family for the holidays. I feel like for all the time. So I'd love to hear what some of your holiday traditions are.
100%. Absolutely. Food is what makes our holiday events kind of keep on turning with our family. The parks, and occasionally we'll bring in extended family. I would say the biggest thing is apple pie. It is not a holiday without apple pie, and that has been a tradition as long as I've been alive. 30 years, so there's always been pie present, and most recently apple cider. Homemade.
I've heard about it. I haven't had it yet, but Craig's coming to my holiday party next week, so I'm kind of like fingers crossing that there's going to be an appearance of cider.
So, okay. So I wanted to do a shameless plug on the apple pie. I have a little story, and it's actually the origin story for the Park family.
I feel like this is like we should be like gathering around the fire, and Grandma's going to be like, let me tell you about our history.
Wait till you hear the story. You probably wouldn't want my grandma to be there. So anyways, we circle around the apple pie.
Like vultures.
So my grandfather, he emigrated from Scotland when he was a young man. And he met my grandmother, who's originally from North Dakota. And they met in Seattle. And my grandfather was a young, strapping Scottish lad. And obviously, he got her to go out on a date with him. His plan was to cook her dinner and get to know her better. What transpired next is the reason the Park family exists. He cooked her baked her a homemade apple pie, gave it to her for dessert, and then for second dessert, they got pregnant with my uncle.
Oh my God. So it's the magical pregnancy pie.
Yeah, that's kind of why if we don't have apple pie, there's really no magic to the holiday.
Oh, God. I feel like that's so appropriate, too, for, like, the book that we're going to be talking about today. Just because, like, there was this whole discussion of baking and cooking versus baking. And, oh, my gosh, that's fantastic.
Yeah, the first time she met him, he was standing there scratching his apple pie. And she was awestruck.
Yeah, that's what it's going to be, a new euphemism. Apple pie. Oh, my gosh. That's such a cute story, though. I first of all love that it was, like, from North Dakota and Scotland, and they met in Seattle, and they got frisky. Wow, what hell of a first date.
Yeah, absolutely. We pretty much tell that story to anybody that'll listen.
I love it.
Now that we're recording it, my dreams are coming true.
Yeah, it's going to be out there for the world to hear. Now, do you guys share the recipe, or is it like the secret family recipe for the apple pregnancy pie?
Oh, yeah. You drive down Doolittle to Davis Street, hang a left, pull into the Costco parking lot, and
pick up a pie.
Pick up a pie. That's all there is to it.
Oh, good. Everyone in the Bay Area will understand that reference, you know?
Yeah.
But Costco's everywhere, and if it's not, it should be. I wish we had something in our family that I feel like had that same relevance, like as far as food goes. I can't think of anything like, I know that my Mimi has all the recipes. All the recipes that we use, I feel like from my mom's side of the family, come from Grandma Ruby. And Grandma Ruby was from Minnesota. She was very white. She was very racist. She was very,
But
Minnesota.
How was her pie game?
Oh, I mean, everything was really good. Like, okay. I don't think Grandma Ruby and I ever actually got to meet, but I feel like I don't go a holiday without hearing about Grandma Ruby and Papa Butch. Oh. Butch and Ruby.
Well, okay.
Down in Minnesota. But I guess the closest thing I can think of would be that when we go to my Mimi's house for Christmas, we sit down to Christmas dinner and my mom and my uncle pick up their dinner plates and like look underneath, because I guess the joke was that when they were growing up, Papa Butch would hide like $5 under someone's dinner plate, and whoever got it, was the winner. Like, they got the money or whatever. So they still, I mean, there's never money. There's never been money under plates in my 28 years of going to Christmas. But so I feel a little ripped off of hearing about this tradition, yet we're not doing it.
I feel like the grass is always greener, because my grandparents were never the type to slip you a $5 on the side, not let your parents know, just hook you up. They were more the type to wait for your birthday and put a check in the card. So
nice.
now as an 8-year-old, what are you going to do with the check? You got to give it to your parents, and it's going into a savings bond. It's bullshit.
Yeah,
and I straight up resent that. However, I do appreciate their contribution to the family with the apple pie story.
Yeah.
Because I have met countless people whose family was started not by an apple pie, but by a bottle of Fireball.
Oh, good. So much classier than the pie, too.
Oh, God. I feel like Fireball is actually probably one of the tamer things that you could start a family with. Oh, for sure. There are so many more engaging substances that we partake in that could lead to the creation of a family.
Yeah. Are you going to carry on this tradition like when you get married and have a family too?
I don't have a family, and I'm currently single, so that's not really something I've considered.
Yeah.
But I know with my family, when we sit down for a holiday meal, Christmas specifically, we'll play Bing Crosby, and we'll sit around and enjoy. And when we tell the story about the Fireball, it'll be too short on the radio.
He's single, ladies, and he eats pie.
Oh, yeah. I was getting to that.
Yeah, I thought I mentioned it to you. This was also a matchmaking podcast, obviously. But
oh, my goodness.
Got to get through the holidays somehow.
We are getting pregnant one way or another.
It's going to be the pie or the Fireball. So here we go. Well, I mean, I feel like talking about all this pie is the perfect way to segue right into our reading for today. And today, Craig and I will be discussing Spreading Christmas Joy by Tory Baker. And this romance holiday novella, which is less than 100 pages, right? It's a quick read.
I believe it was 97.
Yeah, okay, so perfect. Was published in December 2017 and is available on Amazon free of charge, it seems. I feel like that's for the best.
What a bargain.
Yeah, so, I mean, going into it, if it's free, I'm already going to be, like, very open-minded because I'm like, oh, I'm not losing money on this, right? So.
Well, before we move forward, I would just like to clarify and let the listeners know that nothing is, in fact, free. And you pay a hefty toll to read this book.
Mentally, emotionally. Okay, well, before we dive into the joy, can I ask you, had you ever read a romance novel or novella before reading this one?
This was my first romance novel.
I'm so sorry.
I have one sitting in my closet at home.
Oh.
It was a gift from a previous flame that has gone completely unread.
Okay.
Unfortunately, that one is about 200 pages. This is in a totally different class of book.
Okay.
And I have never looked at it since.
Have you not picked it up yet for either the memory of the old flame, or is it like the length of it? Like what's the reason you haven't dove in yet?
When I do read, which is infrequent, And I appreciate this podcast for giving me the opportunity to break into something. I typically will go for a novel written in a mystery setting or police setting.
Okay, cool.
I prefer books that are paced in that way.
Okay, cool. Do you know what book it is that's like in your closet?
I don't, but
I'm so curious, like what the book was.
Now that I'm focused on it, I believe the cover has a much less sexual vibe than the Tory Baker book that I just read.
Spreading Christmas Joy, which, mind you, let me just clear this up, that Spreading Christmas Joy, her name in the book is Joy. She goes by Christmas Joy. So really it's about spreading her wide open.
I feel like it was obvious to me, but when I've talked about this book with other people, and I say, I'm reading a book called Spreading Christmas Joy. It's a romance novel. Can you guess what the main character's name is? They just look at me confused and say, is it Craig?
Yeah, no, and I mean, if it's not clear enough from the title, if you see the cover of the book too, I mean, he's literally all up in there. It is, I have to say, I do like the cover. It's very colorful, very Christmassy, very misleading. But yeah, so, okay, well, I am curious. I want to know if you do remember what that book is, or you look it up and you send me a picture of it. I want to know.
I am going to text you a picture immediately when I get home.
Good. Okay.
I'm going to mail it. It's going to be your Secret Santa gift this year.
Oh, I'm so excited. Yeah, bring it to the party.
All right.
You just wrap it on up. You can re-gift that sucker.
Deal.
And here's the synopsis for Spreading Christmas Joy by Tory Baker. Here we go. Joy loves everything about Christmas. Her town has even nicknamed her Christmas Joy. Ebb, that's E-B, Ebb. Ebb is a recluse who has no time for the holiday. When Joy comes over to share her cookies, spreading Christmas cheer, there's only one thing that Ebb wants to spread. I can like barely read it. Joy. There's only one thing that Ebb wants to spread. Joy. This standalone Christmas novella is hot enough to put you on Santa's naughty list and give you visions of a lot more than sugar plums dancing.
Fucking garbage fire.
I can't. Like, this story is, I don't know if I've read, I feel like I have read one that has as many puns, but like the puns just weren't as up to snuff.
I think that synopsis could be written in 10 minutes by 3 monkeys with typewriters. I am not impressed. I don't know where those excerpts came from, but this is not an accurate description of this book.
No. And you know what? I've found that to be true for a lot of books we read, where it either gives it all away, or it like kind of paints a picture of like everything that maybe went on before the book even starts. I feel like this kind of tells us, okay, Joy is about Christmas, Ebb is not about Christmas, and he wants to fuck her. And that is basically the plot of the book.
That is 100% the plot of the book.
Yeah.
I feel like there's a little... There's some deviations where you get a few more details, puts a little more color in the picture frame. Mostly has to do with Ebb lying or manipulating or being sexually aggressive in
or
ways
all three
that really make you question the relationship between the two.
Oh boy, yeah. No, there's a lot to say about such a short story, but I have to say, okay, when I first opened it up, I was like, okay, Ebenezer Scrooge, right? Like it's got to be like a modern retelling of A Christmas Carol. And I guess that's sort of the setup. Like, there's no ghosts. There's no, like, talk about the past. There should have been, like, I feel like, to give him some substance. But all we really find out is that we don't even know his first name because, like, there's mention of the fact that his middle name is Eben, and it's short for Ebenezer, like, as a nod to Christmas Carol. But he only goes by Ebb, or E.B. is his author name, like the entire story. So I'm like, wait, what is your first name? We never know your first name.
Well, okay, so first of all, Ebenezer Scrooge was visited by ghosts in A Christmas Carol because he was redeemable.
Right.
Which is clearly not something that Ms. Baker considered while writing this book. This guy is probably, in her eyes, not the dream guy that we initially think he is to the writer at the beginning of the book.
He is garbage, fires, personified.
I found myself questioning my own behavior while reading this.
Oh, no!
Not in that way. Becoming very concerned that I've been far too respectful and
oh my god,
and not nearly forward enough.
Yeah, I mean, at one point Craig did message me and say like, okay, I clearly messaged him and told him exactly like how I was feeling about not just the book but specifically about Ebb, and he was like, oh thank god, I thought like this is what women want. Like, I was questioning everything, and I was like, absolutely not. This guy is trash.
Okay, settled.
Yeah, there you go.
That really made reading through the book quite a bit smoother for me.
So, I mean, I have to say, I was in it at the beginning. Like, I really do, as much as I dislike Ebb, I found Joy's very one-dimensional. Like, there's no substance to her whatsoever, but there isn't really substance to anybody in this book. But I liked that she's, very much like she owns a bakery in this small little town they're in Colorado, right?
Yes, Colorado.
Yeah, so it's very picturesque, and she has her bakery, and, she is kind of like on a dry spell with love, and she's so upbeat, she's so bubbly. I found her very cute. I was like, this is somebody where it's like if I was watching the movie and this was the main character, or if I met this person in real life, I'd be like, okay, like I'd be their friend.
I'm glad you touched on that, because when I was reading through the book, I'm imagining this Joy character.
Okay.
And comparing her to the women that I've dated and the women I'm interested in.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't believe that a romance novel written by a woman would have characters that represent these different types of behavior that you find.
Mm-hmm.
It almost seemed stereotypical. Joy was the stereotypical woman that
Yeah.
a guy like that would go after.
Yeah.
Docile, quiet. I don't know about everybody else, but I like my women with a bit of an attitude. And
she has none.
A lot. Very intelligent,
Mm-hmm.
driven. This lady is kind of painted into a corner.
That's a good way to put it.
Just to be on the receiving end of Ebb's advances.
Well, and I like the way you put that too, because I feel like while it is a dual perspective, like we get different chapters from each of their point of views, but I felt like it was Ebb's story, like start to finish. It felt to me like it was much more Ebb's story and what he wants and how he's going to get it. Like, it didn't really seem like, and that was surprising to me coming from a female author, of just like, it didn't really seem like Joy factored into it at all.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like that energy in the book came from each chapter switching back and forth, being from Ebb's perspective, Joy's perspective, back and forth, and it kind of creates a tension between the characters. We see their innermost thoughts and their feelings towards each other, almost narrated in the third person, bouncing back and forth.
Yeah.
It's a very confusing writing style.
Yeah. And you know what? And it's not, and obviously this in terms of storytelling too, like from, whether some people prefer the first person point of view, some people prefer the third, but this one you do get like more of a third person and the dual perspectives. But yeah, it does feel a little bit messy for sure. I'm with you on that one. As far as the story goes, I mean, it's very simple. It's, Ebb he goes to stay in this little town that, Joy just happens to live in, and he's there to finish his novel. And while he's there, he very quickly meets his next door neighbor, who is Joy, while he's outside scratching his balls. Just like it goes.
That detail did not feel like it was necessary to share.
No.
This is one of my big issues with syntax and flow in the book. Is there are so many bits and pieces that are added to force the story in a certain direction.
Yeah.
In this scene, to force Joy's eyes to his dick.
Right.
What the fuck? She spent half a chapter talking about the man's balls.
Yeah. There was, in fact, that was actually something I made note of in several places in the story. Not just balls, but that was something that was recurring. We actually had this in the fourth day of Boobsmas. We discussed how the main character's dick was like basically an additional character. And I felt like his balls were very, very present in this story too.
I would like to touch on an excerpt from the book at this time.
Yes.
From the beginning of the book, the first time they meet each other, he is reheating cold pizza, decides against it.
Yep.
And he is
I know exactly where you're going.
He is quoted as saying, hot pizza is for men that shave their balls.
Yeah.
That is confusing.
And you know what? It was like one page later where there was mention, like they must have used the word balls like 8 times in a page, because I also highlighted warmed up pizzas for men who shave their balls. And then just like, you know, a few sentences later, there was the mention of, I moved my hand down, sliding it between my stomach and sweats, scratching my balls, still reading the letter. You know, and mind you, she's right there. He's literally checking his mail and just like scratching his balls. But he had a lot of things to say.
So do you think men that manscape put pineapple on their pizza?
Warmed up pizza is for men who shave their balls. Okay, so like, I mean, I'm going to ask you about the pizza thing later when we play our game, because that was something that I was like, okay, whatever. But yeah, so I don't know. There were several places though, besides the balls. I highlighted so many different sections where it just felt like, as far as like the syntax goes, we were just sort of repeating things like over and over. Like there was one page where she's working in the bakery and he brings her dinner, and they have this argument that lasts like 4 pages, and it's literally just back and forth, her saying like, what do you get me for dinner? Let me see my dinner. And then in response, he's saying, lock your door. You need to lock your door when you're in the bakery alone. Why aren't you locking your door? Please lock your door. Like it was like watching like an improv skit. Like I was just like, what is going on?
Absolutely. But I think we learned in the first 2 to 3 chapters that intense character development is not a factor in this book.
No. And you know what? Cray and I discussed this like as we were, before we were recording, in terms of like, how, you know, it seems like a lot of the holiday romances we're reading kind of are like holiday movies, where it's that they don't necessarily have that much substance or character development or, you know, really any evolution of the characters. And it's almost like we can excuse that because, but it's Christmas, it's the holidays, whatever. Like we just want to see some, you know, tinsel and being merry. But no, I want a good holiday romance with characters that matter.
Yeah. Well, there's no glass slipper in this story. There's really not much to grasp to as far as the characters go.
No.
I think most of the plot development is to put them back in the bedroom. And,
yeah.
As far as romance novels go, like I said, this is my first one, so I have no basis for comparison. But I feel like in 97 pages, they had sex 4 times. Yeah,
it was, and you know what? It was interesting because the first time they have sex, it's getting really hot and heavy because she literally walks in on him, you know, stroking his dick, and things, you know, spiral from there. But we don't actually see them have sex. It's like a very much like, let's get together, and then it cuts to the next morning, which I found really surprising. And then we have a very graphic scene later on. Yeah, I mean, there's a few points where they're really going at it, and then other ones where it gets started and then it cuts away. So, I mean, as far as like the hot and heavy goes, though, there's definitely a lot to be had in 97 pages.
I will give the author this. The sex scenes, they are hot.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
The way that they get cut right as they get down to the action, I don't know if that was intentional because they're not it's not symmetrical throughout the entire book. They have varying degrees of description on each of the sex scenes. The sexcapades.
Sexcapades, yes.
You've
got the lingo.
I practice in the mirror. Sexcapades.
He's like, I'm ready for this podcast.
I didn't stutter or anything.
No, I think you're right. And you know what I love? Because when I read romance, I'm not even necessarily looking for like to have like the most sex scenes in it, but I love to see some variety in sex scenes, and I do feel like this book does have that. Like we do get different locations, different positions. I'm all about that. So kudos to Tory Baker for that one.
So when I was reading our correspondence while looking through the book and trying to come up with some ideas for my contributions here, I was looking for my favorite part of the book, and before I read it, I was just like, oh, my favorite part is going to be one of the sexcapades. There's no way that it's going to be something else. But I think my favorite has to be. Am I allowed to do the big reveal at the end of the book?
You go for it. You go for it.
These two getting married. It is the most forced piece of literature I have ever seen.
And you know what? We've talked about insta love. This is like a very popular trope in romance. I feel like especially I've read it in shorter stories where it's sort of like this instant connection. That's not what this story is. It's not one of the ones where like they see each other and they're like, that's it. Like that's the person I'm meant to be with. It's not that at all, because we spend almost the entirety of the book from Ebb's point of view of him talking about how he's just in this to fuck her. Like he is like lying about loving Christmas. He, will do whatever it is. He tells his agent the exact same thing. Then when we get to that proposal at the end, I don't know if I've ever read one that felt like it came out of the blue like so much.
He's a walking red flag.
Okay.
And the idea, it's very funny to me when a guy wants to go after a girl and he just, what do you like? Oh, I like that too. Yeah, let's, is that okay with you? Do you like it? Like, just to get in her pants. It's such a pathetic move. And we have this guy, he's rich. He is rich via success. He is described as an Adonis type in the book. And he's packing some schmeat.
Yeah.
And he still needs to lie to get in her pants.
Yeah, I found that interesting too.
She's described as liking him from first glance, and half the book is him caricaturizing himself just to fit her Christmas fantasy. Yeah, which is
God, no, it's I don't know. I don't know. Again, like the proposal is very forced at the end. Like I'm not opposed to an end of story proposal. And I think what it is it's also this proposal on top of the fact that he is the walking red flag, as you describe him. And we'll talk more about Ebb, because really this entire episode could just be about what a dumpster fire of a character he is. But then also that we have this epilogue after the proposal that fast forwards 2 years later, which is typically when I would expect to see the proposal would be in like an epilogue. But no, we get the proposal and then we jump ahead 2 years and they've had a baby and he's playing Santa, and it was a lot. How did you feel about the jump 2 years ahead epilogue?
Okay, so to be perfectly honest, I hate using this word, but it was triggering.
Oh God.
The jumping 2 years ahead, and ladies and gentlemen, there is a page in the book that just says 2 years later.
Yep.
With a little calligraphy underneath it, and that's it. Then you're 2 years in the future. Their little bundle of joy is there. Mr. Schmeat is a full-fledged Christmas lover. So anyways, when I was in grade school, I believe it was third grade, we had a class assignment, creative writing, and I will never forget this because my teacher was so fucking mean to me. We had to do a creative writing assignment, and I wrote a story about a man and his family living in the mountains, had run out of supplies, and he had to cross the mountain to the nearest town to fetch supplies and bring them back. So the beginning of the story was about the issues that befell them, and then him journeying off into the mountains. I wrote 2 days later. Not even 2 years, mind you.
Just 2 days.
There's no new babies. The lady in the cabin in the woods did not cheat on her husband. No extra drama. He goes into town. 2 days later, he comes back with the supplies.
Okay.
I got a unhappy face sticker on my assignment. The audacity of that bitch. I cannot believe...
She was like, you cheated. Like this...
No, straight up. She said that I cannot do that. And I said, I thought it was creative writing. And she said, no, you have to fit the format of the assignment. And I said, I'm being as creative as I can. And it took 2 days to cross the mountains. Cut me some slack. She was not having it.
I thought it was creative writing. It is, but you have to follow my rules.
Yeah. Of course, that makes a lot more sense.
Oh God.
So anyways, reading through this book, I don't think I've ever read another book where they have a segue in that form. And
interesting.
I didn't know that you could do that. I thought that my third grade teacher was imparting words of wisdom that I just didn't want to hear at the time. Turns out it's actually a terrible style of writing.
And it's not just exclusive to romance, though, I will tell you, because when I was working at a production company, they would have me read scripts and books that they were like considering to adapt. And I know that I read so many novels where it would do these time jumps where not even just like a 2 years or 2 days later, it would be, 7 years ago from her perspective, 2 years later from his perspective, 3 years in the future from her perspective. And I don't know. I guess I'm somebody that really likes linear storytelling where it just one things lead to the next. But if I jump 2 years in the future, I'm just sort of like, what happened? That's a lot of time. 2 days. I don't think I would have given you an unhappy sticker, though.
I've noticed a few shows that have been produced in that format on Netflix. I believe one of them is, I could be wrong here, it's called Z Nation.
I haven't watched it.
Zombie show.
Okay.
And they have flashbacks and flash forwards that explain situations in the current episode. And I really...
Not for you.
I like to scroll through memes on my phone while I'm watching my Netflix. And if I have to devote that much attention to the show
That's true.
to keep up, I kind of lose interest. Unless the show really grabs me. Z Nation, huge fan. Love the show. I'm still on my phone in it. It doesn't mean I love you any less. But the jumping back and forth is a little annoying.
Yeah. Yeah, well, and I watch, the two that jump to my mind are Handmaid's Tale, which clearly you don't even have to put a label on like that it's in the past or like when it's in the past because they're just, they're not wearing their handmaids costumes anymore. Like it's that simple,
So I haven't seen A Handmaid's Tale.
Oh God, Greg.
I was invited to a Halloween party this year.
No.
Or I attended. And they didn't give any guidance on the costumes.
Oh my God.
But it turned out to be a themed cocktail party. Everyone was wearing long red dresses and suits.
No.
And I showed up in full zombie makeup.
Wait, was it like a Handmaid's Tale party?
Yes. Well, they didn't say that in the invitation, but almost everyone got the memo except for me.
I don't like that. I'm like, I don't want us to be celebrating this.
There was an excellent stare-off when I walked in the room. I had full FX makeup, huge chunks taken out of my neck and my forehead, and this guy is standing there, and he was not wearing a costume. He was wearing a real suit that he wears to his job. It looked expensive, and I am wearing tattered robes and full death pallor makeup on my face.
It's Halloween.
Nobody told me that, Kelly.
It's funny too, because when you think about like the future, or like at least how we represent the future in like movies and TV shows, it's a lot of like either zombies kill us all or it becomes Handmaid's Tale, like totalitarianism. And so there you go. You went to the party.
¿Por qué no los dos?
Yeah. So, anyway, but besides Handmaid's Tale and Z Nation, we'll get back to Ebb and Joy.
Oh, I forgot about them.
Oh, that's right.
I was thinking about cannibals destroying the world and really starting to enjoy myself.
Yeah, and story structure.
Now we're back to this.
No, and you know what? Okay, this was something that annoyed me, is that I felt like Tory Baker set up all these potential possibilities that could have sort of redeemed Ebb, but never did. Like, first of all, we never really know much about his backstory. All we really know is that he's an author, a successful author, and at one point we find out that his dad died a while ago, but it's like mentioned in passing. Like, his agent is like, oh yeah, when your dad died and you went to his funeral, like, you still cranked out a book, So, that doesn't really factor in. I kept waiting for sort of the story of, like, why did he hate Christmas? Why was he a recluse? Like, what was it about him. And then we have this moment where he has to fill in as Santa at the children's hospital. And I'm like, oh, perfect. Here we go. And even in the end of that, he's like, yeah, I want to donate money. But that's like it. Like, we don't have any like understanding from him, anything, having to do with that. And even in the end, when Joy finds out that like he's, basically been trying to do all these things just to bang her, all we get as his apology or his grand gesture is straight to the proposal. So that was like, I think my biggest bone of contention is that I've read plenty of romance novels where you have this like piece of shit person at the beginning, or, sometimes we call them alpha holes. So like, yeah, there's a difference between an asshole and an alpha hole. And I was like, okay, this is going to be like an alpha hole story. Like, he's going to be, really, he's got problems, but like then over the course of time, she's going to bring out his good side and everything. And nope, he was just a straight up asshole.
Being an alpha hole, when he's trying that hard, he should just come off as a psychopath.
And he does in this book.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I was getting full on like stalker vibes. Like, okay, let me read you. I couldn't stop highlighting like these one-liners that Ebb said, because Ebb is the one that talks 90% of the time in the story. So we already talked about his balls. This was another favorite. There's a lot of food references I found. He says, and he's saying this isn't even narration. He is actually saying this. I was just wondering what your cookie would taste like. And she, of course, is so dense or just like not understanding anything, is like, they're traditional sugar cookies, I tell him. I knew they'd taste sweet, he answers, grinning. He finally takes the box into his hand, the very hand he had wrapped around his cock.
Of course it was. Of course it was.
God, I know.
The other hand is just for heating up pizza.
Yeah. He's got one hand for, eating the cold pizza because he doesn't shave his balls, and then one hand for scratching and holding out for boxes.
Oh, my goodness.
Oh, God.
You know what? I now that you say it, I recall reading that. Do you have any more highlights? I really want to. I want to hear the food quotes.
You want
go.
more?
Let's go. Let's hear it.
Maybe they're not all food. I think it was the pizza and the cookies one, but I feel like there's got to be another food one in there. Oh, this is where he's supposed to be working on his manuscript, and he says, "Instead, I find myself searching lingerie for a certain little blonde neighbor that I'm gonna enjoy putting on the naughty list." And I wrote, "The fuck?" Like,
there you go, Eb. Just flipping through the Sears catalog.
Yeah, like stalker much? Like, a lot of my notes are like stalker, oh sweet Jesus. Next one was shit. Joy has some fucking amazing tits. Just straight up.
You don't think that on a normal basis?
Then there was the moment where he punched the guy in the stomach for looking at her while they were shopping for a Christmas tree.
I've been waiting for you to bring that up. What the fuck?
Yeah.
So to inform the listeners, this man is standing in the store. Another man gets caught looking at Joy's ass. He notions to the guy to fuck off.
Which is basically where it would end in any other like alpha romance. It'd be like him giving the guy like a stare, and then the guy being like, "Oh, sorry, man, didn't know she was yours."
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The whole possession.
Yeah, but we go further in this one.
No, absolutely. It goes further. He tells him audibly to fuck off. The guy says there's nothing better in the store to look at. And then he punches him in the stomach. And when the guy does not go to the floor, he punches him in the face.
Yeah.
Joy is 2 feet away, examining Christmas trees. And she turns around completely bewildered at what has happened behind her.
And buys the story.
E.B. then lies about his battery, tells her that the man fell and hit his face, and then, in a final act, does not stay to help the man. He simply walks away.
Yeah. He's like, "Okay, let's go." And they leave.
E.B. probably killed his own father. That is why.
It's true. We don't know enough about him. It could have happened.
He was able to crank out a book at the funeral because he was still running off adrenaline.
Oh, God. This is when, this is a little bit later. I think they've already gotten the Christmas tree maybe. And he's still just talking about how he's just trying to, bang her. He says, still, I've never had to chase pussy in my life, and I'm a little too fucking old and jaded to start now. I mean, giving a girl my name these days usually assures my cock is going to get sucked. And as delectable and little Joy appears to be, in the end, she's still just a warm, wet pussy to sink into.
Fucking charming.
God. It just gets, and this is, mind you, this is 8 chapters into the book.
I know Tory was really trying to drive home her point with describing it that way, but that is some real Donald Trump style locker room.
Yeah,
it's has no place in describing someone that actually cares about another human being.
No, and it doesn't change. That's the problem. Like, I mean, if that's like your starting goal, fine. And like, but even when he starts to fall for her, it's, the whole story of he can't admit it to himself. He can't admit it to other people. I'm like, okay, but it genuinely seems like he doesn't love her. But I mentioned on more than one occasion in my notes, this guy sucks. He's awful.
He does. He also mentioned in the book, This one's a little raunchy. I don't know how people are going to take it. But
yeah.
He said that he was going to make her swallow his load as punishment for her behavior.
Yeah, there's definitely some mention of forcing her to do things and spankings. And you know what? If you're going to go for like the whole like BDSM or like punishment thing, like do it, But like it didn't really feel like it fit. I guess maybe I wanted like either more or like less.
Yeah, well, there's no judgment here. If you partake in those activities, whatever, have fun. But in this case, there's no social contract between the two that's been established. They just show up, compliment each other's cookies, and then they hook up reluctantly at first on Joy's side.
Yeah,
the whole situation feels a little manufactured. The only other option than that is EB is taking this too far.
Way too far. Yeah. Oh, here we go. I found some more foodie sexual puns. We've got, you taste so good. I loved the Christmas cookies you brought over, but I think my favorite flavor of the season is Christmas joy.
That was actually pretty slick.
Oh, God. Okay, wait. I saw another one. Something about meat. Oh, yeah. Don't worry, sweetheart. I'll substitute the meat for a different kind.
Jesus.
I can't. Oh, no. As I get farther into my notes, I mean, I'm just seeing, especially when we get to the proposal, I literally wrote, abso-fucking-lutely not. No, 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 nope. Next page was not even him just asking her to marry him, marrying him on Christmas. And it was, oh my God, I can't even. And you know what? This one, I forgot about this, but looking back, I'm remembering it now. When she first goes into his house, and this is when she sees him jacking off and then they have sex.
Right.
But she goes in because she sees his door open, like his front door open. And she's like, oh my gosh, I've watched so many true crime shows. Like he could be dead inside. And I was like, that is the part of the true crime that you're remembering. It's not the part about walking into a stranger's house at night that on more than one occasion has talked about how he wants to eat you. Like,
I'm not really sure how to respond to that. You're 100% right. I'll leave it at that. This lady is not well put together.
Yeah.
But she is an entrepreneur.
Yes. I guess that was what it was too, is I'm like, she's smart enough to have her own business. She's clearly successful. Her heart is in the right place. She wants to give back. I mean, if you step aside from Ebb we can just all agree on is terrible. And with Joy, it's more of like a disappointment. Like just especially speaking as a woman, I'm like, you are like so sweet and everything, but then like it doesn't come out in like the things she does.
So I feel like the author did take the time to describe Joy's physical reaction every time that she saw him. Her lips would quiver. She would moisten the front of her panties were the exact words that the author used.
So moist.
Which is so unnecessary to describe it that way. But so she has this physical reaction every time she runs into him, and I think the point she's trying to get across is that it makes her stupid. And on the other side, it makes him animalistic every time that he sees her. And I can't say that I understand those portrayals, but they're, they fit the story.
Well, and you know what? Maybe this is somebody's kink. Maybe that is, I guess to me, it's just not a combination that I would expect to blossom into being like a lasting relationship with love. Like, I can see the lust factor for sure. Like somebody's so hot they make you stupid and you're like, I'll do whatever you want. Like, that's fine. But yeah,
living the dream.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just it's the hard part of me believing that they actually fall in love as these characters and with these, inconsistencies. So, because especially when he proposes, she knows nothing about him. Like, granted, he doesn't know much about her, but he at least can see the type of person she is. But
well, actually, she only knows bad things.
Yeah.
The only thing that she knows is that she likes his body.
Yeah, and she's like, he's an author, but like that never plays a role in the story. And she's just heard him talk about how she's just a hole to put it in, basically. So we go from that to proposal.
Which is actually kind of shocking. This does not send a great message to our younger female listeners.
No.
Please disregard everything we mentioned about this book.
Yeah, it's something else. It's not something that I would have expected to read knowing that it had been published just a couple years ago. It's also not something I expected to read from what seems to be prolific female author, because I've looked at Tory Baker's body of work and she's got a lot, and it seems like she's got a lot of fans. That's not to say that I wouldn't be willing to read another Tory Baker story, because I know that I've perused what she has and I would be interested in seeing what other books she has to offer, and if maybe this was just one that kind of stood out from the pack in a negative way.
My review is in no way a condemnation of the author.
No.
Merely of the title.
Just the title?
just the title and its contents. Once you spread it open, you realize.
Yeah, but I mean, I think the same can be said about any type of artist, that you're never going to have all winners, So I hope that this is not an indication of her body of work too, because we didn't even talk about it really, but the editing itself is not great either. Like, there's for sure
absolute rush job.
There's a lot of spelling errors. There's a lot of grammar errors. I texted Craig and was like, yeah, at one point she says she's going to lean in to kiss him, but she says I leaned in to hiss him.
That's why I was asking you if this was self-published. Maybe she was saving cash by not hiring an editor.
And it could be, but I know personally multiple authors who self-publish, and that's not an excuse anymore, So like, I don't know what the deal is, but this is for sure not the first book that we've read for Boobsmas this year that has had lots of editing issues. So I don't know. I don't know if it's everybody rushing to get him out before the holidays, or I don't know. I guess it just seems to me like it would be such a section of romance that I would expect to be huge. This whole holiday romance, like, because I think about how many people watch Hallmark Christmas movies, right, how many people watch the old Christmas movies on TV and the Christmas specials, and then I think about what romance stories there are that are holiday ones, and it just doesn't seem like that much in comparison, let alone that much of good quality. So I don't know. I feel like it's missing for me, especially now that we're on the 11th day of Boobsmas. We've only got one more to go for this year at least, and yeah, I'm putting that out in the universe. I want more holiday romance, and I want better holiday romance. 2020, bring it on.
You've got 1 year. These books are only 100 pages long.
Yeah, you've got 1 year. 1 year to deliver. I want it next December.
Step it up and move the next story from Colorado to Missouri.
Ooh, yeah. That's exactly where I want my holiday romance, is Missouri.
Beggars can't be choosers.
That's true. If I get the quality romance and it just happens to be set in Missouri, I'll take it. That's fine. Maybe Missouri. I feel like Missouri could use that. They could need that.
Instead of EB, it'll be JB.
Yeah, JB Noel.
That's a little too churched up. We're going to work on it.
That's why I'm not writing them. I'm reading them.
I'm going to go back on what I said earlier.
Okay.
I'm going to call out my favorite scene. It was I'm going to make it a sex scene.
Oh, okay.
Just for the sake of this review, we got to include at least one positive sex scene.
Oh yeah.
In the kitchen, she's cooking breakfast, and he grabs her, throws her up on the table, and starts going down on her on the kitchen table. Eggs burning in the stove, the works. It really tied together a great picture, and I feel like that was the one genuine sex scene in the story where I didn't feel like the whole chapter had been orchestrated just to have him pull his dick out. Or to have her approach him with his dick already out.
No, I mean, that's a great way to put it. That one was really good.
It might have been the only genuine couple moment in the entire book.
We don't get a lot of couple moments, so I'm trying to think of what my favorite sex scene was. That one was good. The one that's really long from start to finish, where we get kind of like the full thing, is it that they're at the hospital? They're in somebody's office. Oh no, yes. Yeah.
They're in is it Michelle?
Martha? Midge? Whatever. They're in somebody's office. This is when he's agreed to be Santa. And they're at the hospital and he's getting dressed. Although we go from him agreeing to be Santa to them being in this office and he's like getting dressed and she's like, oh no, stop it. Like, right. Yeah. And that one was like a very long, very graphic scene of him bending her over, him telling her to play with herself and everything. Did you want to give us a reading from your favorite excerpt?
Holy moly. I left off on that page. The kitchen scene.
Perfect.
Oh, man. Why don't we work on grading and give me a chance to flip through this a little bit? I want to pick something good. I didn't want to jump straight to the sex scene for the excerpt. I feel like that's cheating.
Okay, that's fine. Well, and you know what? The sex is going to factor into your grades too. So for our grades, I'm going to ask you to give 4 grades this time. Typically we only do 3, but when it comes to the holidays, we are grading for story, syntax, sexcapades, and Santa. Santa. Yeah. So on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the very best that it could possibly be, let's start with story. What do you think?
Okay. So story. I give it a 5 out of 10.
I'm actually... Okay. That's actually more generous than I thought it was going to be.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, so I see how you might grade lower.
Yeah, and I'm not much lower. I did give it a 4, so I mean we're not far off.
So the reason I didn't go lower than a 5 is because the story does jump around. The characters are not well developed, but all of the actions that the characters partake in, they totally fit the type of person that would be doing that. So even if the person is completely unbelievable and you could never imagine meeting a person who actually had those thoughts and feelings.
Yeah.
For someone who's described as selfish and disrespectful like E.B., the types of thoughts that he have, they really do.
They are selfish,
They tie him into the story very well.
Yeah, no, that's a good point.
And same thing with Joy. Even if I disagree with her portrayal and his portrayal, as people, I don't think they're realistic at all.
No.
Her behavior, she did write the characters into the story well, even though the story was kind of heaped together.
Yeah. And I do think the story does move forward. Like, yes, it has these big jumps and everything, but it does move forward. I feel like there's never a moment where we are going backwards. I guess it's kind of that it's more at a standstill for me, that there's just like, there's not a lot of character growth. I mean, again, we don't have to beat it over the head with a nail with a head.
So when
one of those.
So great storytelling.
Yeah, right?
So when you grade on a scale of 0 to 10 for story, are you grading from a 10 down, or do you start from 0?
No, I start with a 10.
Okay.
I start with a 10. I'm one of those people that, like, when you learned about, like, the philosophers where it's like we're all, like, born evil or we're all, like, born good.
Right.
Yeah, I go good. I'm like, okay, let's start at a 10 and just go from there.
Okay, so I also grade from a 10 down.
Okay.
I think the biggest thing was the organization of the chapters, narrating from Eb's point of view, then Joy's back and forth and back and forth. These chapters are shorter than a page in a regular book.
Yeah, very short.
I thought it was jumping back and forth way too quickly. I had to slow down, reread sections, figure out who's talking.
No, and that's fair. And I feel like you can tie that both into story and syntax too, which is our next grade. So syntax, out of 10, what are we going to give her?
So the chapter arrangement ties into syntax, but for syntax, I have another 5. I'm sorry. I know that's not original. I should have given it a 4.5 to spice it up a little bit. But the big thing with syntax was the 2 years later.
I love that affected you so much. But again, you also, I'm not going to say that's like a normal thing in romance. Like that's in every romance novel, but I have read it. But you have this personal connection to it too.
I mean, the way the rest of the story was written.
Yeah.
She could have added another chapter. And it could have just been they resolved stuff. They got married and they were talking about how they want to spend the rest of their life together.
Oh, for sure.
And they would have been the exact same ending. I want to have a kid with you. I want to spend every Christmas with you.
Right.
Instead, she said 2 years later, look, we got a kid. Look, it's Christmas time again. We're enjoying our Christmas tree.
I know.
It's just a really unnecessary addition.
Yeah, it's cheating. Like, I don't know. I find it lazy. That's how I think of it too.
That's what I've written right here.
I tell it to my students too. I'll be like, you know what? You can use this. It's not that it's wrong. It's just that I feel like there are so many other ways. Like, is this the only way to do it? And I don't think it is. So, especially in this one, like you said, I mean, we could have for sure. I mean, I gave it a 3, but
I forgot that you were an educator, and I am so glad that we're not taking an academic approach to this.
No. We can't. But no, I gave syntax a 3, and for me, it was that there were so many. I mean, besides everything we've mentioned already, there was so many spelling errors and so many like editing issues that I'm just like, when you read and when you edit, you have your different editing passes. Like the first one is like for story, like we're editing for story. Okay. Then we edit like for characters, like, and everybody has their different order, but I'm like, there's always at least one grammar and like spelling editing pass. Like that should be like, I feel like it's the first thing and the last thing. And the fact that so many things slipped through, I'm just like, oh.
You know, wouldn't it be weird if she sent Amazon her rough draft? This is a bathtub reader, folks. You hop in.
Which I did read in the bathtub, so there you go.
Glass of wine, which you're going to need more than the bath, mind you.
How about sexcapades? Because this one I can definitely grade higher than the other two. Like, I can for sure grade higher.
Okay, sexcapades, I gave it a 9.5.
Damn, son.
Okay, let me explain. We're going to come back to the no basis for comparison.
Yes,
fair. I don't know how these are laid out in other books. These sexcapades were more or less when I started reading what I was reading for. I felt like
fair.
This style of book is building towards those encounters.
Yeah.
I saw in our correspondence you mentioned that not all romance novels have the graphic sex scenes.
Yeah, very true.
So it's possible for it not to be there. However, in this book, it was totally centered around the sex, and I feel
it's in the title.
I feel like the first sexual encounter, she cut it short. We're grabbing dick and we're fingering vagina.
Yeah, and then the next morning,
and then bam, next morning,
omelets.
It's all over until kitchen table time.
Yep.
So we're at the kitchen table. She's making eggs. And he has nothing on his mind except for getting back at it. And
getting into that cookie.
Yeah, so he goes down on her in the kitchen table. That was my favorite sex scene.
Yeah.
By far. Wasn't the longest one or the most descriptive, but I felt that was a much better representation.
Well, and now that you're talking through each of them, it really is sort of like acting as, like the format is sort of like foreplay leading into sex. Like you get like this little taste, this little teaser, and then there's like a little bit more. And then we get like the, hard graphic sex over the, desk in the office, so I mean.
That's exactly what I was building towards.
Good.
Coming into the rented office where it shows, the borrowed office where it shows the full scene. I feel like that was her plan when she was constructing the storyline to at least include that. God, what's the word?
Climax.
Thank you.
No, I mean, it's funny because now I feel like, now that I'm thinking about it, I'm like, oh, you know what? That does feel like a little more thoughtful than I like originally read it as. So like I gave the sexcapades a 7, but now I feel like I'm leaning more towards an 8, where I'm like, okay, I do feel like there was more thought put into that, and sort of like the outline of what happens in each scene and how much we get, how much is like, oh, not yet, just a little taste. So,
well,
yeah.
My 9.5 was influenced more just on thinking that the scenes were hot.
They were. Yeah.
Than her having some sort of system in place.
Yeah.
But that is a great point.
I mean, systems are sexy.
I'm not going to increase my 9.5.
No.
But I do appreciate that take on it.
No, I just find systems really hot, I guess. I mean, I'm like, yeah, the sex was fine, but like, did you see the order it went in? Ooh, yeah.
Oh my God. What if there was a romance novel where the man and the woman meet? Or man and the man?
Fine by me.
Hey, whomever met.
Yeah, whomever.
In an Excel class.
Oh my God, that's so sexy.
Oh God, pivot tables.
There'd be no like table flipping. It would be like, let's set everything down before like you sit on the table and we bang.
Oh fuck. Export that data.
There's definitely like, I've read my share of like sexy scientists, I feel like, but you know what?
Baby, import it.
Yeah, I'm gonna need some more like computer geeks and stuff. That sounds great. Okay, so add it to the list of 2020. That can be the next holiday romance.
Tory.
Yeah, Tory. Are you listening? We've got great ideas here. Okay, and then of course, our last rating for Santa. I'm thinking in terms of like holiday spirit and like festivities. Like, these are Boobsmas episodes. They're holiday romance novellas. How prevalent is the holidayness in the book?
I got a little distracted. I was racking my brain, and all I could think about was when they went Christmas tree shopping. And he beat the shit out of some guy in the store.
It's like every time that they start to get into the holidays, she gets so happy that she's like turned on, and he gets so upset that he like either turns to sex or violence.
I'm recalling a crime that I witnessed. I could only answer like I was on the stand.
Well, okay, out of 10, what do we think about holiday festivities Santa rating?
Okay, out of 10, I can give it a 6.5, but okay. I feel like we have to include the house award ceremony.
Oh, God, yeah. See, that was another one that I wrote down. Like, when they go to the hospital, I wrote down the Christmas decorating contest as, like, a storyline where I was like, I wish there was more of this, but...
Right. So in the end of this book, Joy goes to a award ceremony for a competition that's held in her town. The community comes together and they judge the neighborhoods to decide who has the best decorated house and the best decorated neighborhood, and an award for the person doing the decorating. And E.B.'s house, which was decorated by Joy, wins the grand prize in the city. And of course it did. For that, I award 1 extra point.
Okay.
May God have mercy on your soul. 7.5. I'm locking it in.
I think, we get him dressed up like Santa. He's banging her half dressed like Santa. There's the decorating. There's, she works in a bakery. Like, yeah, I mean, it's definitely I feel like none of those things really play as much of a role. Like, the only thing that's really part of the story in terms of Christmas is the fact that he basically convinces himself that the only way he's going to get her to have sex with him is by, like, him pretending that he loves Christmas.
The mental gymnastics are...
Again, I mean, we went over and I'm like, this guy's hot and successful. Like, you don't need to do this. But, yeah, I mean, I guess I'd give it, like, maybe, like, a 6.5, 7. Like, it's all there. Like, it's a good backdrop,
Speaking of mental gymnastics, there's a quote that you called out earlier where he said he'd never had to work this hard for pussy in his life. Yeah. And all I could think when I read that was, you're just lying to people. You're not even, I've never had to lie this much to get laid. This is crazy.
There was another part where he's like, where he was like, man, this is the first time I've jacked off into my own hand in years. And I'm just like, I have a really hard time believing
Why are you jacking off onto your hand? That's not reducing cleanup. That's increasing it.
It's like, this is the first time I've done this in so long. I'm like, I don't know. I feel like you spent a lot of time alone, but...
I'm pretty sure he was lying about that, too.
Okay, well, now that we've graded the book, do you have a excerpt that you want to read? Did it bring up memories while we were grading that you're like, this is what I need to share? Not
memories.
Personal memories.
I got a little... You know what? I kind of look like a deer in the headlights right there.
He's like, shit, I didn't know this was part of this podcast. No.
Oh, my goodness.
I meant memories of reading, Greg.
Not prepared to share those.
I'll give everybody a taste of the one where he bangs her over the desk, and keep in mind that he's like half in Santa clothes. I highlighted 8 passages just in this one sexcerpt because it goes on and on and on. So let's see. I'm just gonna choose one because I think the dialogue is what really makes it. You're a bad girl, Joy. I am. I gasp when his fingers move between my legs, brushing against my very wet pussy, walking around in this tight little red dress all day.
How wet was it? Very?
Very wet pussy.
Nice.
Very wet. Walking around in this tight little red dress all day, teasing Santa. I'm sorry, I whisper, my head going down so that my forehead rests against the desk. I don't think you're sorry, Joy. His voice rumbles behind me like thunder, and I can feel each vibration in my body, and it all centers in my clit, causing my knees to go weak. I'm thankful the desk is holding me up when he delivers another smack across my ass. I think you enjoyed it, walking around, not wearing panties and teasing Santa. I bet you've been wet all night, haven't you? I whimper. I have been. And then when we get to the climax, it's squeeze my damn cock, milk all of that cum. Yep.
Message delivered.
With that very wet pussy.
When I was reading this, I was like, wow, that's really hot. But now that we're sitting here having a face-to-face and discussing it...
Very inside the actor's studio.
Jesus.
I know.
You want me to do what with that?
Yeah, milk it, you know? I don't, that's one that gets me. I know everybody has their words in romance where they're like, I don't do that. And milk is one of them for me. Cause I just think of cows. So I'm like, that's not one that's good for me.
You know what it is for me? Cunt.
Really?
He uses the word cunt, not as an insult, but to describe my vagina. And I read that, I was like, bro, what? That little cunt of yours? You fucking say that to people? that it's not a turn off. It's not that serious, but it's just, why does that have a place in this book?
Oh, I know. You know what though? We've talked about this before. I really don't think there's any sexy words for vagina. I feel what do we get? We get cunt and pussy.
Well, I like the word cunt too, but it's usually, I'll call a buddy of mine a cunt, and it's a very friendly thing. We've definitely been drinking, and I'm calling him across the room. Hey, cunt, get over here!
No, I usually do.
Whatsoever.
It's kind of like how bitch was originally derogatory and stuff, being oh, she's such a bitch, but now people will be like, oh, hey, bitch, what's up? That's kind of how I use cunt too. I never use it in terms of vagina.
Right.
Which is probably the way that if I'm going to use the word, should use it. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I don't know. It sounds too I don't know.
I don't know if bitch as a greeting is a reclamation, but I hear that quite a bit. And that word is definitely softened.
For sure.
The only time that it really is taken seriously is within the proper context.
Yeah. Anyway, did you want to read for us?
Yeah, absolutely. I am not sure. I don't really have a good starting point on this one. So I'm just gonna go from anywhere.
Yeah, just pick a place and go.
Of course not. I was going to throw the tin at him or something. I don't know. I was scared. I didn't exactly think clearly when I was scared. If you were scared, then why in the world did you come inside the house? You could have been dying. So you were rescuing me? You fucked me so good, my balls are sore this morning. And now you're fixing me breakfast. Even though you're late for work? Do I have all that right, Joy? I fucked you? I ask. My eyes widen with shock. Until my balls were sore. I don't know how to respond. That's okay. I don't want you to talk anymore, he said, grabbing my hand. You don't? No, he says, pushing his plate back on the table and then practically manhandling me by lifting me up on the table. What are you doing? He blows out a harsh breath through his lips and pushes his shirt that I'm wearing up to my hips. His shirt is so long on me that it falls low to my thighs. When cool air hits the inside of my thighs, I stop moving and arguing. He's not looking at me, but I am him, and I see it. Desire. Need. Hunger.
For that cookie.
Oh, goodness. We know he wants the cookie. Maybe it's not maybe it's a legit sugar cookie, and that's why they call her Christmas Joy.
That's it. He's just hungry. Yeah, so that's spreading Christmas joy for everybody. And I can't say that it necessarily spread Christmas joy in my direction, but it was a fun, quick read. I mean, like you said, bathtub read.
Yeah, exactly. I was able to fit it in a couple chapters at a time.
Yeah.
In between projects at work, I would just find a few spare moments. And
Perfect.
knock out a few chapters. It was the best way to go through that.
A little palate cleanser.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
A little sorbet.
And a short sugar cookie in between chapters.
Just a little bite. Yeah, I for sure will say that it made me hungry while I was reading it. I don't know what I want more, cold pizza or cookies.
It made me hungry too.
Hunger. Oh, God. Now, so having read this as your first romance, not even novel, but just novella, and I know that this is outside of your typical genre comfort zone, would you read another romance novel?
Yes, absolutely. It's not what I expected. It was much more enjoyable. Despite the harsh review that we gave this book today, it was enjoyable to read, and I would definitely be interested in reading another one.
Obviously it wasn't our favorite, but I'm glad that despite that, you are still interested in exploring the genre. You just have to find the right one.
I'm just going to follow Boobies and Noobies.
Yeah.
I'll go based on your recommendations.
Okay, yeah. I think it's time for a game. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, so in this round of tit or tat, I will be offering you... Tit? That's the answer? Okay,
Easy.
Well, game over. There we go. I will be offering you a series of scenarios in which you will select one or the other. And all of these are words, phrases, or themes that come directly from today's reading, spreading Christmas joy.
I'm ready.
Okay, number one, comfort or joy?
Joy.
And that comes from the name of her bakery, which is Comfort and Joy. That's cute. I can get on board with that. Wayne Newton or Donny Osmond?
Wayne Newton.
I have to say, though, that was really random when she mentioned that she was so excited to get Wayne Newton's Christmas CD.
So, Wayne Newton, did he do a rendition of Donkashane when he was a kid?
I don't know.
I believe he did.
Okay.
Yeah, fantastic.
Love the song. Yeah, I'm down. How about Silent Night or Come All Ye Faithful?
Silent Night.
Mm-hmm. A city with 1 million residents or a town with less than 1,000 residents?
Fuck.
Yeah, I know.
Oh. Okay, I currently live in a city with over 1 million residents.
That's true.
I've been in quite a few towns through my snowboarding adventures with less than 1,000 people. Mm-hmm. I don't think I could do that. There's not enough resources. I'm going to stay in the city. Yeah,
I'd be worried too about, especially if you're going into it being a young single person. I'm like, that's a very limited dating pool, oh gosh.
It's remarkable.
Okay, let's figure out how shaved your balls are, Craig. Cold pizza or reheated pizza?
Well, without giving away too much detail, reheated.
Okay. I actually like cold pizza.
There's nothing wrong with cold pizza.
Yeah.
I do it sometimes, but you know what? Cold pizza is a lazy move for me.
Oh, okay. You're like, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it right.
Shaving your balls is not a lazy move. That is a labor of love.
That's that. Yeah, for sure. For sure. How about naughty list or nice list?
Naughty.
Mm-hmm. Cake or cookies?
Cake.
Oh, okay. Do you have a flavor, cake that you love?
I like red velvet with vanilla frosting.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Like thick cream cheese, vanilla. Oh, so good. How about holly tree or juniper tree?
Holly?
Holly is the one that has red berries, right?
Which one's juniper?
It's tall and floofy.
Not into that. Holly?
Okay.
Lock it in.
Scrambled eggs or poached eggs?
Scrambled.
Oh, okay, cool. Keeping it classy. Cooking or baking?
cooking if it's me doing it for the holiday.
Okay.
Baking if it's somebody else.
Okay, cool. I can get on board with that too. Yeah. I like both, but it's like I have to be in the right mood for one or the other. Mm-hmm. Chicken fried steak or prime rib?
Prime rib.
Yeah, that's what we have for Christmas at my uncle's house. How about Christmas proposal? Yes or fuck that shit?
Fuck that shit.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. The public proposal already enough is I'm like, oof, I don't know. But the Christmas proposal really ticks me off.
The location has to be so fucking important.
Yeah.
If you're gonna risk it all in front of all those people. I think it's more of like a private moment, and the location is less important unless there was something super specific.
Yeah, like it has to be about you guys, you know, like, and I guess the one thing is I'm like, for me, I'm like Christmas proposal, no. But like, I'm like, okay, her name is Joy. She's Christmas Joy. She's all about Christmas. I'm like, okay, but even then, it could have been better. So all we've got left to do is to give away a wonderful little prize to one of our listeners. And for this giveaway, we asked Claire Kingsley's Facebook group, Alpha Ever After, to share their favorite holiday gifts. And I did sort of a blogger takeover in Claire's group this past weekend. And this was a giveaway that was exclusive to them for the 11th day of Boobsmas. So we do have one more giveaway, although at this time when this recording comes out, all our giveaways will probably be locked and loaded. So for this one, I decided to show Craig just sort of the selection of gifts that he had to choose from and see if anything, you know, just sort of struck his fancy. So we've got everything from, what do you call it? Santa dogs. I'm seeing a lot of elf references. The pizza's pretty fun. More elf, Santa and reindeer doing some sort of dance. I don't know what the fuck is going on here with some guy smacking his ass.
Very relevant to the story.
I don't know what this movie is. I love old Christmas movies. This one is Sabrina the Teenage Witch Christmas. Wow, okay. That's like some Christmas National Lampoon, right?
Chevy Chase. Strong contender.
Okay, and here's another one, and we're gonna have the happiest Christmas. Oh, I love Charlie Brown Christmas.
It's hard to go wrong with that.
Yeah, that's a good one too. We've got The Office. We've got White Christmas. That's one of my all-time faves.
Can we go back to, what's that guy's name? River?
Dwight.
Yeah, the actor?
Rainn Wilson.
Rainn Wilson, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Huge fan once I learn more about him.
He's great. I always think of him in Juno. He's like the one that sells her the pregnancy test. We've got Joey from Friends as a Thanksgiving gift.
Oh, nice. He's got the stretchy pants.
Yeah. We've got a lipstick mistletoe combo going on here.
Okay, I'm liking where that's going.
Yeah, a lot more elf. Feliz Navidad. Ooh, that's our first Feliz Navidad.
I, for the record, have no idea what the prize is. So this is purely blind, and also I can only see the gifts. I cannot see the poster.
Right.
So for this one, I'm going to go with Joey.
You're going to go with Joey. Okay.
Old stretchy pants himself.
These are my Thanksgiving pants. Okay, so that is Ricky Baugh, or Ricky Bog, or Ricky Boff. It's a very Baugh, kind of name. So Bog. I know that we have a street in Alameda called Augenbaugh, but it's like actually pronounced Offenbog.
I drove on that on the way here.
Yeah, so I'm wondering if it's Ricky Bog, but either way, Ricky Baugh. You've got a giveaway prize. We love your gift. Everybody else, thank you so much for just jumping in and spreading the joy, spreading that Christmas joy.
I love stretchy pants.
Yeah, who doesn't? Pregnancy pants to go with pregnancy pie. Well, I mean, I guess there's nothing else for me to say, but thank you so much for joining me today, Craig.
Thank you for hosting.
Yay!
I really enjoyed this.
Yeah, I'm glad you did this. This was really fun, and I feel like I especially love having guests on that. One, we don't have like a ton of history together, where it's like, it's nice to have like sort of this fresh perspective, and also I feel like I get to learn a lot about you while we're here.
Do you like how I went rapid fire through your little questionnaire, the game?
Yeah.
Some of them were so easy.
Yeah. You're just like, I mean, I know exactly what I meant. Prime rib, duh. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You learned a lot about me.
I did.
that day 5 minutes ago.
It's amazing what these games can do. Oh, God, so good. Well, and I'm happy to say that it seems like you might still be willing to give romance a chance. So I am going to find the book for you. It's going to happen. And without further ado, on the 11th day of Boobsmas, my lover gave to me 11 bodice rippers.
On the 11th day of Boobsmas, my lover gave to me 11 bodice rippers, 10 tubes of lube, 9 naughty spankings, 8 rock hard abs, 7 minutes in heaven, 6 billionaires, 5 penis rings, 4 dukes of fucking, 3 butt plugs, 2 nipple clips, and a hot hookup underneath the tree.
Thanks so much for listening. Boobies and Noobies is part of the Frolic Podcast Network. Find more podcasts you'll love at frolic.media/podcasts.